This is a Fox News alert. I'm Brett Baer in Washington. The controversy over Hillary Clinton's emails is growing exponentially tonight. Moments ago, we learned the House Select Committee on Benghazi will subpoena all relevant emails from Clinton about the Libya disaster and is sending a preservation letter to internet firms involved. We have Fox team coverage. Carl Cameron looks at a long line of problems queuing up for a presidential candidate who isn't even officially a candidate yet. But we begin with correspondent Doug McKelway and the matter of a private email account and private server for a very public official. Good evening, Doug.
Evening, Brett. In a statement released just within the half hour, the Select Committee on Benghazi announced it has issued subpoenas for all communications of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton related to Libya and to the State Department for other individuals who have information pertinent to the investigation. The committee also sent preservation letters, as you said, to internet firms, informing them of their legal obligation to protect all relevant documents. A day after the House Select Benghazi Committee confirmed that former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton used a private email account for all her official correspondence, an Associated Press review found she also used a private server registered to her family home in Chappaqua, New York.
The idea that a cabinet member would create her own system is pretty extraordinary, and it's also pretty dangerous. This is the type of thing that sends most security officers into orbit.
Security is only one concern, transparency another.
This was clearly designed to keep information from Congress, from the press, and from the public.
Suspicion was further raised today when the State Department acknowledged that Clinton never communicated through the department's classified email system.
So presumably, if she had done her business at the State Department, she could have used a classified email system.
She had, I mean,
that would have been available to her.
In theory, but she had other ways of communicating through classified email through her assistants or her staff with people when she needed to use a classified setting.
But Clinton's staff may have also used private email to correspond with her. Asked if that was true, the chairman of the House Select Committee on Benghazi today responded with a one-word answer.
Yes.
He wouldn't name those staffers.
But I don't think it advances at least my investigatory interest to name those individuals. I want the documents.
The State Department has noted that Clinton did turn over 55,000 emails from her private system. The White House today said she has complied with the Federal Records Act, which requires the preservation of official correspondence.
It's required for that personal email to be stored, properly maintained, and preserved at the agency, and that, according to President Clinton's team, is exactly what they did.
At her home.
Those records right now reside at the Department of State.
This certainly runs against the grain of the federal law. It's much more difficult to comply with those laws when you're creating your own system and allowing your own people to manage it.
The 1950s-era Federal Records Act was amended just last November to include the requirement that all electronic communications be preserved. That was long after Mrs. Clinton left office, and it is the reason the White House, the State Department, and the Clinton camp are saying they followed the letter of the law. Other legal scholars believe the intent of the law has always included electronic communications. Brett?
Doug, thank you. Bill and Hillary Clinton, of course, have been lightning rods for controversy for more than 2 decades on the political scene. And now, as Hillary Clinton prepares for another possible run at the presidency and history, this latest scandal provides another potential roadblock. Chief political correspondent Carl Cameron with the big picture tonight.
Celebrating Emily's List for 30 years of helping pro-choice Democratic women get elected to every national office but one was scheduled for Hillary Clinton more than a year ago as one of her last big rallies before joining the presidential race. But it happened under another cloud of Clinton controversy.
Don't you someday want to see a woman president of the United States of America?
No mention of her use as Secretary of State of a private email account on a private home server instead of a more secure government system. Likewise, nothing on the acceptance of donations from foreign governments at what's now called the Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton Foundation.
Foreign nations have donated to the Clinton Foundation. Algeria was lobbying the U.S. at the time.
Democrats worry all the unanswered questions and GOP attacks will cause an epidemic of early-onset Clinton fatigue. The Clintons are actually going ahead with a glitzy foundation fundraiser tonight in New York City with domestic donors. Nothing untoward, all for a good cause, they say. Classic Clinton.
A sense that the ends justify the means, and we're seeing that here, both with taking foreign donations from terrorist-supporting countries that suppress the rights of women, and setting up a secret email account to dodge transparency regulations and potentially expose sensitive email information to foreign threats.
Clinton warned Emily's List the next 20 months to Election Day will probably be harder than ever, and slammed Republicans for proposing tax cuts and pro-growth supply-side economics.
We're not buying that old trickle-down economics that didn't work before and can never work again.
Last year's book tour attempt to rework her image ahead of the 2016 campaign got lousy reviews. She was ridiculed for saying she and her husband were broke after his presidency. She makes $200,000 per speech, and while she was Secretary of State, Bill Clinton raked in $48 million in speaking fees. Other controversies loom as well. 4 supposedly independent super PACs run by Clinton pals and former staffers have been raising millions and organizing volunteers for more than a year. Any coordination with Clinton would be illegal. Lawsuits alleging just that have already been filed.
Elections are supposed to be about the future, but a candidate's character and past can often decide a race. These are problems of Clinton's own making, so she is going to have to deal with them or risk being defined by them. Brett?
And if there are any emails about the Clinton Foundation and foreign governments, we don't know if we would see that.
And because the server is in her house, she could have potentially swapped out a drive and put in a new one. It'll be impossible to know if they've even been disappeared.
Carl, thank you. Well, what do you think? Do you think the email scandal, controversy, whatever you want to call it, could derail Hillary Clinton's campaign? Let me know at facebook.com/BrettBairSR or on Twitter @BrettBair. Use the hashtag Special Report. For the second time in 3 years, the nation's highest court has a chance to do what Congress and the public could not: strike a mortal blow against Obamacare. The law remains unpopular. Just 38% of those surveyed in the latest Fox News poll approve of it. 58% do not. At issue today at the U.S. Supreme Court was the language, 4 words to be precise, in a bill thousands of pages long that could make the Affordable Care Act unaffordable for millions. Correspondent Shannon Bream reports tonight on the case against Obamacare, round 2.
Obamacare is here to stay. The public rallies are dying down. Now it's the heated debate behind closed doors that matters, as the Supreme Court weighs a decision that both supporters and opponents of the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, agree could send the law into a tailspin. At issue are subsidies, tax credits meant to help low and moderate income individuals afford health insurance coverage. The plain language of the law says those credits are available to those who sign up for a plan, quote, through an exchange established by the state. More than 30 states elected not to set up exchanges, but the IRS decided to extend the tax credits into those states anyway. Critics say that was never the intent of the law and point to this statement by so-called Obamacare architect Jonathan Gruber back in 2012.
If you're a state and you don't set up an exchange, that means your citizens don't get their tax credits.
Gruber since called that statement a mistake, and it wasn't up for debate before the justices today. Justice Elena Kagan repeatedly challenged the plaintiffs and seemed fully on board with the government's argument that the phrase in question must be considered in light of the overall law and its intentions, and that interpretation could only mean subsidies for all. To the challenger's attorney, she said, quote, but we are interpreting a statute generally to make it make sense as a whole, right? We look at the whole text. We don't look at 4 words. We look at the whole text, the particular context, the more general context, try to make everything harmonious with everything else. Later adding, if you look at the entire text, it's pretty clear that you oughtn't to treat those 5 words in the way you are. Justice Antonin Scalia saw the dispute differently, saying to the government's attorney, Solicitor General Donald Verrilli, quote, answer me in principle. I mean, is it not the case that if the only reasonable interpretation of a particular provision produces disastrous consequences in the rest of the statute, it nonetheless means what it says? Potential swing vote Justice Anthony Kennedy had tough words for both sides, telling the plaintiff's attorney, quote, there's a serious constitutional problem if we adopt your argument. Later saying that if the phrase in question is truly ambiguous, it would be, quote, a drastic step to say the IRS could make a single call regarding billions of dollars worth of subsidies. A number of justices mentioned the negative impact striking the subsidies could have on the overall law, a sentiment echoed at the White House.
There's not a whole lot, frankly, that the government could do about it other than Congress passing legislation to fix it. But I think we're all pretty realistic about the likelihood that that's going to happen.
The administration has said it has no backup plan if the government loses this case. Well, a number of GOP lawmakers say that they do, and if they win here, they'll do everything possible to make sure that no one loses coverage for any period of time.
We'll have a decision by late June. Brett?
We'll follow it. Shannon Bream at the court. Shannon, thanks. Stocks were down today. The Dow lost 106.5. The S&P 500 dropped 9. The Nasdaq was off 13. Up next, Iran joins President Obama in criticizing Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. First, here's what some of our Fox affiliates around the country are covering tonight. Fox 5 in Atlanta with the fatal shooting of a police officer. Authorities say Detective Terrence Avery Green was killed during a manhunt in suburban Fairburn. Another officer was injured. Authorities say the suspect was shot by police and was taken to a hospital. No word yet on his condition. Fox 31 in Denver, where passengers had to be evacuated by emergency chutes from an American Airlines flight that had just landed at Denver International Airport after smoke from the cockpit filled the plane. One person was injured and treated at the scene. We've not been told yet what caused that smoke. This is a live look at Boston from our affiliate there, Fox 25. The big story there tonight, opening arguments in the trial of accused Boston Marathon bomber Yohar Tsarnaev. His attorneys told jurors that Tsarnaev did indeed participate in the Boston bombings, but she says he had fallen under the influence of his older brother. That's tonight's live look outside the Beltway from Special Report. We'll be right back.